Venetian Dreams and American Shadows 7. Edition 61, The One Who Walked Away. The wind off the Atlantic hit sharp against his jaw as Luca stepped off the train in Porto, Portugal. He hadn't spoken a word since Lisbon. His coat was darker now, not from color, but from the memory of Gregori's blood that had soaked into its seams. He thought of Alessandro. Of the mirror. Of the final look they exchanged, no hate, just understanding. The manuscript was gone, burned in the fire that consumed the monastery. But Luca still had the cipher, etched in invisible ink along the hem of Gregori's inner coat lining. A final gift. Or a curse. A note in the pocket read. If you are reading this, then I am gone. You may now rewrite the story. Or finally end it. A. G. He folded the note and set it alight. No more riddles. No more mirrors. But the shadows still moved. And one of them wore Alessandro's face. Edition 62, Remnants. In a dusty gallery in Marseille, under a broken skylight, a woman sorted through shattered crates marked M. L. Her name was Celeste Albro, Interpol dropout, Luca's former lover, Alessandro's mole. She held up an unburned piece of the most Larson forgery, the edge of a wing, pristine, untouched by flame. But it wasn't paint, it was blood lacquer. She whispered, "This isn't a painting, it's a confession." Behind her, a tall figure in a trench coat closed the gallery doors. Edition 63, The Angel's Debt. Celeste and Luca met again on the rooftop of a museum in Barcelona. She offered him the shard. He offered her a name. Who else was involved? She asked. Luca hesitated, then said, they called him Seraphim. But he was never an angel. Her eyes widened. You're not chasing Alessandro anymore. No. Luca replied. I'm hunting the one who taught him. Edition 64, Operation Seraphim. In the control room of a classified NATO bunker beneath Geneva, Interpol's last loyal analyst decrypted the satellite files from Lisbon. What he found made his skin crawl. Not only had the most Larson been painted with human DNA, but it was encoded with coordinates, places tied to war, betrayal, and stolen identities. And each matched a false death in Interpol's system. Files erased. Faces replaced. All leading to one name. Elias Seraphim. Edition 65, The Saint of Smoke. In a derelict church in the Carpathian Mountains, Luca found him. Elias Seraphim sat in a pew, smoking. You've come far. He said. I came to finish what Gregori started. Elias smiled. Then tell me, do you still believe in redemption, or are you just another shadow? Luca raised the pistol. Elias didn't flinch. I'm not the villain, boy. He said. I'm the editor. Edition 66, Silencers him. They fought not with guns, but with truths. Seraphim whispered things Luca had buried. His first kill wasn't self-defense. Alessandro's betrayal was orchestrated. Gregori was once Seraphim's apprentice. You're not hunting me. Seraphim said as Luca held the gun. You're replacing me. The pistol clicked empty. Luca stared. Trembled. Seraphim walked out through the back door of the chapel, singing softly. Edition 67, 12 Shadows. 12 names. 12 operatives. All once under Alessandro. All presumed dead. All alive. Luca opened the case file, Gregori's final archive. It wasn't a manhunt. It was a cleansing. Each shadow had a skill. A truth. A piece of the real painting, Da Vinci's most Larson, buried in fragments across cathedrals, war zones, and bloodlines. To find the painting, he needed to hunt the shadows. Edition 68, Shadow 1, The Librarian. Prague. Under the National Library, Luca found Aliska Dreven, codenamed the Librarian. She held the first fragment in a locked tome, vellum, scorched with numbers, part of Da Vinci's missing journal. "I won't give it to you," she whispered. "I don't need you to," Luca said. But he didn't kill her. Instead, he left her with the name Seraphim. He wanted fear to spread faster than bullets. Edition 69, Ghost Manuscript. As he traveled east, Luca kept receiving fragments of an ancient poem, all written by Da Vinci and coded with the lives of each operative. Each line pointed toward the shadow's weakness. But one verse stood out. "In Venetian dreams where the mirrors dance, the shadow sees not the dagger's glance." Luca realized, Seraphim was watching. Always. Edition 70, What Remains. Alone in a hotel room in Cairo, Luca studied the map. Blood, ash, poetry, coordinates, all pointing to one conclusion. The final painting wasn't just art. It wasn't even a confession. It was a key. To what? He didn't know yet. But as he stared at the wall, where 12 red strings crisscrossed in chaos, he whispered. "Venetian dreams are becoming American shadows." And for the first time in years, Luca felt afraid. Edition 71, Shadow 2, The Seamstress. Florence, Italy. The bells tolled dusk as Luca stepped into a hidden tailor shop beneath the ruins of a burned theater. There, Isabella Martinelli, once known as the seamstress, was stitching silk into something ancient, cloth embedded with powdered pigment and dried human skin. She looked up, eyes empty. "You want the thread?" she asked. "The thread binds the truth." Luca didn't blink. "I want what's hidden beneath your altar." She smiled softly. "You'll find a piece of the painting, but lose a piece of yourself." When he pried open the altar floor, he found a canvas fragment. Faded gold. Leonardo's initials. But above it, scratched in blood. "Beware the one who rewrites." Edition 72, The Bone Vault. Munich. Luca broke into an ossuary beneath a Jesuit monastery. Shadow 3 was already dead, bones catalogued under the name Johann Richter, former Vatican forger. But what he left behind was worse than any living threat. 12 skulls in a glass case, each etched with the numbers of Da Vinci's Vitruvian sequence. A keyhole in a jawbone. A map carved into the cranium. This wasn't a game. It was a blueprint. Edition 73, Intervention. As Luca crossed into Lyon, he was intercepted. Celeste. She hadn't forgotten the betrayal in Prague. "You're unraveling, Luca. You're starting to believe in the myth." He didn't deny it. Because myth or not, bodies were real. The shadows were real. And so was Seraphim. She threw a folder at his feet, Interpol surveillance of Shadow 4, the archivist. Final known location, the Paris Catacombs. Edition 74, The Paris Descent. Under Paris, Luca followed the trail of skeletal markers, each skull wearing a torn Venetian mask. He found the archivist. Or what was left. The wall behind the body was covered in a madman's scrawl. Alessandro was never the prince. Only the pawn. Among the bones, Luca retrieved the fourth fragment, a charcoal sketch of a mirror within a mirror, signed L. S. M. Lorenzo Seraphim Malgro. Luca whispered. The real name of Elias Seraphim. Edition 75, Fire in Venice. Suddenly, word spread. The original Most Larsen painting, long believed lost, was found in a submerged vault beneath San Moise, Venice. Luca knew it was bait. He went anyway. What he found was a trap of fire, gas, and mirror illusions. And in the center, hanging from iron chains, was Alessandro. Still alive. Smiling. "Welcome back to the dream," he said. Edition 76, the chessboard. Bound face to face, Alessandro spoke. We never stole the painting, Luca. We created it. Grigori, me, even you. Luca spat blood. You killed for it. No. We died for it. Alessandro corrected. But Seraphim? He plays the long game. Then he whispered. Edition 76 isn't the end. It's the crossroad. The fire was lit. Luca broke free. Alessandro stayed behind. Another sacrifice. Another shadow gone. Edition 77, the cartographer. Luca followed the trail to Alexandria. The seventh shadow, the cartographer, was an old man with a broken back, drawing maps with black ink made from scorched parchment. He pointed to one thing. Babel. The final painting. He said, is not in a gallery. It's in Babel, where language fell and secrets were scattered. And in his final breath. Follow the number. 369. Edition 78, Code of 9. Celeste called again. They found your prints at 3 scenes. Interpol's closing in. Luca didn't care. The 9th cipher fragment, hidden inside a broken pocket watch, showed something terrifying. 3 circles. 6 steps. 9 deaths. A formula. A ritual. Da Vinci hadn't just painted something. He'd hidden judgment itself. Edition 79, Glass Chapel. Luca reached Austria, where beneath a crystal cathedral he discovered Shadow 8, the violinist, who played a tune Da Vinci had etched into time itself. A tune that triggered memory. Guilt. A tune Alessandro once hummed before a heist. You hear it too? The violinist whispered. That means you're ready. Then he fell from the chapel's peak, taking his secret with him. Only silence remained. Edition 80, A Mirror for Every Man. Back in a safe house near Marseille, Luca assembled the fragments. Gold thread. Blood-stained silk. Bone etchings. Codes, music, mirrors. The most Larson wasn't just one painting. It was many. Each a reflection. Each a judgment. And the final one, the original, was still out there. Waiting. At the heart of Babel. The place where God once scattered language. And where Seraphim planned to rewrite it. Edition 81, The Voice of Babel. Mount Ararat, Eastern Turkey. A snow-covered monastery at the foot of Ararat whispered of legends too old to belong to any religion. Inside, Luca found a monk with glassy, unblinking eyes. He speaks again. The monk said. The voice of Babel has returned. This time, not to scatter tongues, but to bind them. Luca was given a scroll sealed in wax. The symbol was unmistakable, spes bona, good hope. The scroll contained only one phrase. The 13th painting is buried where truth collapsed. Edition 82, The Collector's Tomb. Vienna. A vault below a forgotten museum. It was here that Luca found the collector, Shadow 9, entombed alive, clutching a journal sealed with melted gold. Inside, sketches of men torn apart by mirrors, cities mapped in sacred geometry, and one sentence repeated 27 times. He who sees the painting becomes part of it. Beneath that, a diagram of Da Vinci's reverse mirror code, overlaid with human DNA. Luca's DNA. Edition 83, The Fall of Seraphim. Celeste called from Cairo. Seraphim is dying. She said. He's made arrangements. He's calling it the final frame. Luca arrived too late. Elias Seraphim was slumped in a mahogany chair, smiling faintly beneath a canvas veil. On the wall, a blank canvas, and yet Luca could feel something staring back. In his final breath, Seraphim whispered. I only opened the door. You walked through. Then, silence. But the painting remained, blank, or was it? Edition 84, The Reversal. Back in Florence, Luca stood beneath the dome of Brunelleschi's cathedral. The ceiling spiraled into the heavens, but the underside was painted in judgment and fire. He saw the signs. The painting, the true most Larsen, wasn't on canvas. It was in architecture. In cathedrals, bones, heists, mirrors, a living, moving shadow of divine reckoning. What Da Vinci had hidden, what Seraphim tried to recover. It wasn't art. It was a message. Edition 85, Babel begins. The coordinates Seraphim left pointed to Mosul, near the ruins of ancient Nineveh. Luca dug for days until he unearthed it. A chamber covered in obsidian slabs, inscriptions in Enochian, Hebrew, and Latin. And in the center, a mirror standing upright, surrounded by 13 identical ones, each angled toward it like worshippers. And then, Alessandro's voice behind him. You finally made it. Edition 86, 13 Reflections. Alessandro was different now. Cold. As if time had bled out of him. These mirrors aren't glass. He said. They're veils between this world and the first word ever spoken. He handed Luca a brush. You're not looking for the painting. You're meant to finish it. Luca stepped toward the central mirror. His reflection didn't follow. Instead, it reached out, and pulled him through. Edition 87, Inside the Frame. Within the mirror was no space. Only memory. The past. Luca walked through rooms painted with sins he'd never confessed, betrayals, deaths, lies masked as honor. And then. A cathedral. A woman crying blood. Alessandro on the altar, whispering prayers in reverse. In the stained glass, the face of Grigori, burned into every saint. Luca shouted. The world shattered. Edition 88, The Ascension Chamber. He awoke in a salt chamber above the ruins of Ur. A man in a red robe waited. Shadow 10. The final one. You've passed through. You've seen. He gave Luca the final fragment, a drawing of a tree with human veins, its roots spelling the name Most Larsen backward. Nesralt Soem. Not a painting. A cipher. A name. A curse. Edition 89, All Truth is Blood. With all 13 fragments, Luca returned to Venice. He laid the pieces onto the marble of San Moise's altar. The painting assembled itself. Gold. Fire. The eye of God in 1,000 mirrored shards. Luca felt his chest tighten. Then pain. Then, clarity. There was never a painting. Luca was the canvas. Edition 90, The Final Judgment. Interpol stormed the chapel. Celeste tried to stop them. But Luca stood still, hands open, the light of the painting behind him like fire made flesh. And in that light, every soul, Grigori, Alessandro, Seraphim, even Luca himself, was judged by what they believed they could hide. The painting burned. The chapel fell. But from the ashes, something else remained. A small silver plaque, buried in the rubble. All shadows returned to the artist.